Hi, today is the 14th of June, 2021, and it's a June gloom San Francisco Bay Area day in my area of the coast. I'm just south of San Francisco, and I'm going to be doing a mediumistic reading on Marie Antoinette. She was married to Louis XVI, and she was Queen of France, and during the French Revolution, unfortunately, she lost her head and was treated really cruelly, honestly. Now, of course, if you know anything about history, the people were starving, and the monarchy was completely out of touch with that, and they were sending help to America, and yet their own people they were not taking care of. And this is basically what happened. Louis XVI sent America aid, and in the meantime, because he wanted to, stick it to the British, but in the meantime, his own people were in a terrible state, overall. So this was the last straw for them, and that's what ended up being a part and parcel of why the aristocracy and lost their heads, because they pushed the people too far. Now, Marie was part of the Germanic aristocracy, and I will be putting a link in the description box so that you can learn more about her. Her birthday was November the 2nd, 1755, and she was born in Hofburg, Vienna, Austria. So, Austrian. And her mother was Queen of Austria. She was born an Archduchess of Austria, and she was the youngest daughter of the Empress Maria Theresa and Emperor Francis I of Austria. Okay, so she was sent off to be married to the French King Louis XVI when she was just 15 years old. Okay, and she was still a child. It was such a different culture, and such a different culture of the court, and so on and so forth, and they were extremely formal. Louis XVI were extremely formal compared to what Marie Antoinette was used to within her own situation back in Austria. And her mother, let me tell you, was no slouch. I mean, it's not like, but I'm just saying that the court life there was different, and it had a different set of rules that Marie had to adjust to. I went to Versailles, and I've been in there, and it was an amazing place. My husband and I went to France for our 25th anniversary, which was a little while ago. Anyhow, it's amazing, it's beautiful, and it was a thrill to be in the place of so much history. And I definitely connect to her energy. She never said, let them eat cake. All right, people, let's just get that clear. She never said that. And she was not indifferent to the suffering of the people. Was she not as informed, not as aware? Yes and no. She had a lot of people in the French court that didn't like her simply because she was, different. and they thought that she, didn't know the system there, and she had quite an interesting history. So, I'm going to be using the Ethereal Visions Tarot deck. That's the one I was drawn to use, by Matt Hughes. You can see that. Eek, eek. I don't want to knock the camera over. This is the fancy version. Yes, it's the gilded one. And it's really a beautiful tarot deck. If you don't have it, I advise picking it up. Now, one of my favorite versions, and again, it is fictionalized a bit, but I think she did an incredible job to convey that transition and the difficulty very well, which was Sofia Coppola's film on Marie Antoinette. I really enjoyed it. Now, she brought an 80s, kind of early 90s energy to it. It still hasn't, to me it still remains a very interesting, watchable film. One that I like to watch more than once. I don't know why I like it so much, I just do. I just feel that she really captures the emotional, and Kristen Durst, the actress, really, I think, did a great job of portraying the young queen, and as she gets older. So I'm going to ask my ancestors and that of Marie Antoinette, and I'm going to ask her if she will share with me through the cards information she would like to convey about whatever she wants to, about her life as Marie Antoinette. Maybe some things we were not aware of. And I ask the Creator to assist me in reading for her accurately and clearly with what she wishes to convey. And I give thanks to her spirit and the Creator and our guides, our mentors that assist us. Marie Antoinette. Okay, we are getting the Four of Wands. She is talking about the populace, the people, the public, and fate. Wheel of Fortune. Again, I love this deck. It is really beautiful. It's gilded. And from her, she's saying she knew that she was going to come into that life and face that kind of karma. I believe she had other lifetimes in royal families where this karma was set up, not set up so much, but where she incurred it, basically. And so this was a karmic debt that played out, it looks like, with the Wheel of Fortune, and it would be a difficult one because it's crossing her energy, a very challenging thing to face, and she did it. And with the public uprising and the change in the public. Two of Pentacles. She's talking about from one extreme to another that she experienced. And that is the extreme of the aristocracy, the French aristocracy, and their rules. And then, again, that difference with the culture of the public. Yet again, completely different situation, setup, rules, subculture. Trying to adjust to all of this. She's saying it was a lot. One extreme or another. Damned if I do, damned if I don't feeling. She's crowned by the Four of Pentacles. She just wanted security. She just wanted to be safe, and she wanted her family to be safe. And she just wanted to have something of her own. I think in many respects she got and grew tired of being made to feel like she wasn't her own person, that she was everything but. So to me there is a sense of a bit of an inner panic that she carried in her mind and in her being about just trying to hold on to herself and hold on to some sense of ground that isn't shifting and changing radically. She felt like she couldn't keep up or please everyone. Okay. I believe that this is her mother, the Empress. She was a very powerful woman and made to be a monarch. I mean, truly, I don't know that Marie Antoinette so much was. I think she was too sheltered and kept in some ways from learning, but in other ways, as she grew in her years, I think she, of course, matured and caught on. But I think, I just don't think she was definitely very different from her mother. She was much more empathetic and a bit softer. Her mother was much more, in my opinion, I could have seen her being a colonel or something. She was just very, very much fine with being a monarch, liked it, was a very powerful woman, and expected her daughter to suck it up and do the same. Now, in what she's showing us here with the Ten of Wands is her mother didn't help her, I feel like, to feel relieved. She felt, in fact, more of a burden. Again, sorry for the unpleasant noise this kind of makes me. Can't always tell till I get the cards and the card size on here, but here we're shown that her life became overwhelming. She could not please everyone. There's just too many extremes. This people want something completely different from that people. Her mother wants her to be something that she doesn't know that she can be. She's trying to tap dance and shift feet and change rules for different people. I felt like she just wanted to be accepted for who she was and be who she was and be secure, not have anybody take the things that she cared about and people that she cared about away from her. She wanted security. And instead she got an overburden of responsibility. Her husband wasn't particularly a good king. He wasn't particularly good at it. In fact, you might say that it would have been better had his, well, I don't know. He wasn't very good at it either. You know, I was just thinking of his brother, but they both had their problems. I think it would have happened no matter what, the French Revolution. Just too much had gone on. And that says as much with the Wheel of Fortune, that it was coming. Here we have the Emperor. She's speaking about the king. This would be Louis the 16th. And, you know, he had, I think, some physical problems that made their act of, I think, what do they call that? Oh, God. Why do I have to blank on that? Why do I have to blank on that name now? Basically, they consummate the marriage. That's it. I think he had trouble to do that. There was a physical problem. And she ended up being confused. A lot of people blamed. Was it her fault? Because it's usual. She couldn't understand why he wasn't wanting to do this. You know, was it her? It was. I totally get what she's putting here. It was a heavy road to toe with him. There was a lack of clarity in her environment. I think she relied. There was a tremendous amount of clandestine also behavior in the court, and I think I'm getting the word intrigue. And there certainly was. This is in the environment. There were things covered up, but I also feel that she's telling me she felt really alone, and especially maybe at night. They had their own chambers. They ended up, and I think they do anyway, from what I recall seeing at the beds they each had. Yeah, and she would have to give birth in front of people. It was like the court. It was just, can you imagine? I mean, it's one thing if you're having your close friends and family there, but it's like the court. She had to perform like a show horse. And in the environment is the moon. To me, this is the French Revolution. This is the delusion also of, and the disconnection to some degree, this other friggin' world that the aristocracy lived in compared to the suffering that people were going through, and that kicked up a lot of this intrigue and desire to topple the aristocracy and the wealthy persons of France. Now, in the Hopes and Fears, she had the Hierophant, which I think says that she had, I think, actually, a hope for proper rules to have been used for some kind of balance or tradition. But definitely tradition. I think she both actually loathed it, and then when it came at the end of her life, because she was going to lose her life because of that, basically, more or less, and how aristocracy abuses the money that the public gave them to live on and that they demanded from them. I think there were parts of it that she grew up and realized were not so great, but she did also feel that she was a member that could lead and be meant to be in leadership as a queen or as someone who looks after. She definitely didn't feel like she shouldn't be that, but I think she wanted the more traditional respect. And I don't think she ever felt like she got it. And certainly not because of the way she died. They took her and decapitated her, and her children were treated horribly. Her son was basically tortured to death, and he was a child. No matter what they did, they didn't deserve, in my opinion, the grotesque ending. It was very brutal and cruel, and children were not spared. And she was dying also of, she's bringing that up, of, I believe that it was a form of, she's saying it was, the uterine type of cancer. So she was sick and ill and being kept in horrid conditions towards the end there. She just wanted, at this point, she's saying, and I just heard her say, to die. It was just too much. And her family, her children, they'd taken everything from her. So that's, again, she's going back to, that's why I just want the simple things now. I want my family, a roof over my head, and enough money to live on and enjoy my life. And the final end result was the Nine of Wands. And interesting, we have this card coming up, which I think matches fine because it's talking about also, I think, the damage around the head. You know, she was beheaded. I think there is, and the suffering that she had to go through at the end of the day. She just went and has the 9 and 10 of Wands as her experience with the way the public changed, and the fact that there was extremes, that things were not being handled well. It's like she understands how it happened, but it was still a nightmare for her and her family, is what she's giving me to share. The Three of Pentacles. More than, one person involved in this. It wasn't, she's saying it wasn't just the populace, but there were other people that kicked this off. That wanted to get the wealth, take the wealth from the aristocracy and others that had it. It's just a shifting of wealth at the end of the day. And the High Priestess was upside down. Now, I don't usually read them upside down, but that's how it came. So this is talking about definitely secretive acts, that there were conspirators, she's saying, conspirators, groups of conspirators. Their secrets would have come out. Reversed King of Wands. And then the Three of Cups. So upright. I think she's saying, you know, these people that put targets that were in, and yet some of them among the aristocracy themselves, that also served the aristocracy. Some of them also ended up doing this to people that they had a beef with or a problem with, and it ended up coming back on them. Some of them ended up getting beheaded. I know that for a fact, and I'm feeling that through these cards. And through her, I'm getting the feeling of, you notice we have the Three of Pentacles here with the reversed High Priestess, and then we have the reversed Knight of Wands and the upright Three of Cups. We have 3 here and 3 here. And then we also have a pattern of 2 reverse cards. And here I feel like she's saying, the people that kicked this off were not doing this for entirely the reasons, without reasons of their own benefit. And it came back on them here. Their celebration was short-lived. Their joy of what they did to my family and I was short-lived, because many of them ended up going to Madame Guillotine themselves. And she was glad that they did. I think she seriously was relieved, because it meant that this would stop. The devil, yes, because it was evil and cruel, as she's saying, and it was wanton. It was just like the witch hunt she's indicating. And reversed Ace of Pentacles, you know, it was not off to a good start. It was off to a negative start, because it was based, you know, on this bloodshed. And also, it was not the way to handle the inequity of, I feel like, wealth, distribution of wealth. It didn't really handle that issue. It just shifted form. Just different people being greedy again. And it didn't handle the finance issue. So reform, they needed reform financially, and balance, to balance out. This is also, I believe, Marie, indicating that as time went on and people, France went through a lot of different, it's quite interesting history if you haven't read up on it, but they went through a lot of different kinds of government from the French Revolution onward. And so she's saying here, these are the different reformations of government that came and followed. She's acknowledging that. And then France getting back up on its feet afterward. But it took a hot minute. And they, you know, working to keep this balance is still, she's indicating, a challenge for France. They still end up having issues. She's giving me to know that she's very still connected to France, despite she loves it, and she understands better at this point how and why she experienced what she did. There was a karmic connection. She was supposed to go through this. It was very difficult, and she did go through it. I also believe 9 of Cups and the Tower, that it was a false, the way that they were living was beyond what the Treasury had. So it was inevitable, since it wasn't being done or based in a sensible fashion and more in a excessive fashion. There was a lack of balance, so the government failed. She's acknowledging that. And these are the decisions. And judgment. Eight of Swords. Well, this to me is, let's just see, the Star. She, even though she went through this awful trial, she's saying she's tried to do it with dignity and grace, as she felt would be best done according to her station in life as a queen. She tried to endure. And she's also talking about how it's odd now that she's famous for and well liked for having gone through. Many people acknowledge the horrible thing that she went through, and the dichotomy between how then and now, how people regard her. It also shows, she's saying it was the dark night of her soul when they took her to the scaffold. But she relied on her faith, and she was. And I think, and held belief, a spiritual belief that helped her, that she was relying on. But that was the end of the road. They were not going to escape like they had hoped. The Three of Wands to get out of the country is reversed. And there is disassociation with the Four of Cups. There's a lack of feeling. There's a lack of empathy for sure with the crowd that she experienced, she's indicating. And she knew also herself. She just kind of resigned herself, is what she's saying to me, that at the end, that was it. And was hoping that there was something better in the world of spirit. So, I get the Queen of Pentacles. She wants me to bring up the fact in the Seven of Wands is that she tried to defend herself, and that she was fond of having a home, and she wanted more simplicity. And she tried to maintain and be herself and stand up for herself to the very end, and I think she did. She spoke very moving words. I will not recite them here because I don't have it memorized or anything like that, but you can read it. And very moving. This is about her son. And he's with her now. He's overcome what was done to him in his childhood, which was the torture and his death. What they did to that child was just evil. They kept him, they didn't feed him, they tortured him, and just sick. But they're letting us know that that is over with, and he is with her on the other side as a young adult, is what I get. Because that, I'm feeling, was something that he wanted to be able to reach and didn't. And the King of Pentacles is Louis the 16th. He is a Virgo. And so he's an earth sign. This makes me feel like this is him. She's bringing up her son and her husband, and she's with them both. This could also be a card for her daughter, and that could be her son, but she's with her family. There was a delay. Her daughter lived many years after the death of her family. I think she married someone else that was a royalty, but she never forgot what was done to her family. And here we have freedom, finally, from being held in the French prisons and dungeons like they were. They were held for a period of time and was horrible and dirty and very demeaning. And she's speaking to that, which is, I'm really grateful to her to speaking to, because it's very traumatic. And this is saying, you know, people paid the price of their karma. Dutifully. This is, you know, had to be done. Had to be endured. But she's processed it, and she's letting us know with this card she's processed it, and she's on the other side of that. And death is reversed. And I think she's saying, you know, there's not an end. It is an end of a cycle, but you start another, because we had the Fool here. So she's talking about life after death. And she's saying that it's just a change. It's just, and she's grateful for it, because she was not wanting to remain where she had been in the misery that she was in, and she welcomed it. More life in death than death in life. She has her garden. She's letting me know that she has her garden, because she knows that I empathize with her love of her garden and wanting a simpler life. And she's letting me know here with her Nine of Pentacles that she's okay, she's comfortable, she's not trapped in that death phase, that she's transitioned out of that. She's living very beautifully, you can see here, and thriving. And she's got her garden. And she's in her shift. She's in her cotton dress, the one that they didn't want her to wear, because they thought it was outrageous that royalty should wear something so plain. And that's one of the pictures, one of the paintings that that we all love so much. But I think the royal family made her have a painting where she's painted in a dress that's finer. So just so you be aware of that. And that's her little inside with me here. Oh, that's so great. And the Five of Pentacles, the suffering that they endured, an outcast, she's saying is the past. And she has her children. And that's put to bed. That is not haunting her. Ten of Pentacles, this is her loved ones, her ancestors, her mom, her father, her grandmother. And Knight of Swords, they protect her. And so she's still in the realm of ancestors. I get from her with her garden, I have no interest in going back, you know, to the earthly realm. I think, period. She's happy now. She's fulfilled karmic debt, and she's interestingly enough showed us her family. She showed King Louis. She showed, I feel like, both, actually, with the Knight and the Page, her daughter and her son and herself. And she's letting us know that she experienced what she needed to, the hardship she had to experience karmically. It was difficult. She made it through on the other side, and she's not still in that terror that we're remembering and associate. And she's rather that we would associate her love of nature and the environment and her children and her family, no matter her flaws. Those were the key things that were always, always important to her. And that she was very loving and caring. She did care about people. She watches. And I think she feels a great deal for those that are experiencing rejection, don't have anyone. And I think she helps them. I think that she tries to help them. So I'm just going to thank her for that. We are at 41 minutes. Wow, that went by fast. And I hope you have a great Monday. And if you like this content, please make sure that you like and subscribe. YouTube is bouncing my subscriber numbers, bouncing them backwards, not forwards. And that's not good. So, anyway, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, making my videos, having my lives and collabs as I can. And thank you for your time. All right. Don't forget to thumbs up the video if you liked it.